Welcome everyone to another episode of Untitled. We are so excited you guys have joined us today. I'm so honored to, present this topic with our friends, the Konzens, Jessica and Hunter. So I'll let them introduce themselves in a little bit. For those that don't know, my name is Allison. I am the founder and host of Untitled. I have the privilege and honor of talking and interviewing my friends and family and guests about topics that I feel like are relevant, that have biblical principles and that need to be talked about more often and spread the word. So today we're actually going to talk about parenting. And I've named this message a number of things. So we're going to pick one by the time it gets launched, but either keeping up with the Konzens, but way better than keeping up with the Kardashians. We'll call it kingdom parenting, whatever it is. But these two folks have just done it so well. And I want to, just kind of intro sort of where this really starts. So I think a lot of us, in the world today can say parenting looks a whole lot different than it did back then. Not that things were different then, things are really different now. I think, exposure to certain things, the younger your kids are, is a lot more relevant than it used to be. And someone like myself who isn't a parent, but aspires to be a parent, I look a lot for great parenting examples. But I think more importantly, really godly examples, really godly parents, how they lead their children to not just believe in God, but to walk with the Lord at such a young age. And really from a place of power and authority, just like we do as adults, but as kids, right? So I've known Jessica now for a couple years, and there's so many things I admire about who she is, and I aspire to be so much like her. And I think for a lot of reasons is I see a lot of myself in her. She's an amazing mom and wife and pastor, friend, right? Sister, you can name every role. She plays so many of them. And a lot of Jessica's ministry and her bravery has just kind of stuck out. It's very bold. It's very courageous. I would like to think that I'm kind of stepping into that type of ministry as well. And so for someone who's done it so well, I would love to follow behind her. But, in this type of setting, it's like you can't, yes, we can give Jessica all the credit, but we can't give Jessica all the credit without recognizing her amazing husband that stands behind her. And, you think of man, Jessica's a super mom and she does this and she does this, but she can't do all this if it's not for Hunter. And so really the topic, blends the two. And that's why when I talked to Jessica about this and she's like, you want Hunter to be on? I was like, Hunter has to be on. He's the other part of the equation. She's like, really silly. I'm like, that's okay. We can So
I did say that.
Yeah, for sure. So that being said, I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves, and then we'll do some fun Q&A, and then we'll jump back to the topic.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Well, I am Jessica Konzen, and thank you, Allison. I appreciate all of that. I love you so much, and I love watching you grow and blossom and be refined, and you're relentless. That's a great word. That's a word that I use for Lily a lot and for myself, but relentless. Well, my name is Jessica Konzen, and I am a mom of 3 and a wife to Hunter. I am the ministries assistant and intern director at Oasis Church. And I love to hang out with my family. I am a huge bookworm. And then I am a runner. I love to run and I love to work out and I love to tell people what to do. So that basically sums up. It is true. And I love to help people. I really enjoy seeing people thrive. So that's good.
My name's Hunter Konzen. I am the husband of this beautiful woman here. Mm-hmm. And I work for a construction company, a project manager, and also pretty involved at Oasis Church, different things. I do get to teaching the kids a couple times a month or once a month, and, just help out doing different things around the church, handyman type stuff. I enjoy working out, staying in shape. I love to read. and learn and listen to podcasts, and especially stuff that's kind of mind expanding type things. And I love to build stuff and figure things out and use my hands and do all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I told him the other day, I said, this is not affirmation. I truly believe there's not something that you cannot do. Like literally, I'm like, go build me this or go take care of that. And like, he will do all this research and then he does it.
I love it.
So much smarter than me.
Oh.
So,
I love that. I know when, I guess, man, it's been a while since I've been to y'all's house, but last time we were there, he was building your dream dining room table, and I was super jealous because I think aspire to do wood crafting one day. I don't actually know if I could do it. I mean, I'm really good at following instructions, so maybe not. But who knows? Maybe one day Hunter will give me like a little lesson on how to build a bird's nest or something.
Well, everybody thinks that I'm the creative one, and really, I just find what I want or what it is, and then I ask him to do it, and then he does it. So he's the brains.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it. We know that your kids are in the very next room that could walk in any minute. So for listeners, have grace and forgiveness. This is what parenting looks like full time when you have kids. So awesome. Well, let's jump into it. I'm going to do some quick fun Q&A with you guys.
Okay.
And we're going to get into the topic. So let's see. What is one kid movie or show that you know many quotes from, and share them with us?
Okay.
Well, I think, so it's kind of, our kids are in such broad range of ages that there's not really one particular. I know that we went through a Cars phase with Jack and a Frozen and a Moana. I mean, I love Moana. I can sing all of Moana and I cry because it's all about identity. Yes. I like have a whole message from that movie.
I love it.
But we really, I mean, other than just being goofy and silly, we, you know, the kids watch television like a lot. Like that's what they're doing right now.
Well, they watch movies. We don't really have cable TV.
Yeah.
So
I don't necessarily know of something that I actually don't let them watch it more than once. Oh, besides Descendants, which, you know, religious people probably won't like that I let my daughter watch that. But
I don't even know what that is. You'll have to tell me offline. Is it like a vampire movie or what?
No, it's like the evil characters in Disney. It's all their teenage kids. And so they're sing and they're like, you know.
I would say I don't know where the movies come from. I just have like a backlog of all the movies. The first thing that came to mind when I read that question was like Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, see,
like, you know, I'll say like, well, see you later. You know, they're, you know, stupid stuff like that. So there'll be random times in conversation that, you know, it's just perfect setup for like some random movie quote. I don't necessarily know where they're coming from, or it just is logged in my brain somewhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. No,
well, and being in so many different ages, you know, it's definitely not the same stuff going on all the time.
Yeah.
That question had come about because I feel like sometimes when I'm around other parents, all these parents know all these like quotes and they're like, oh, your kid watches, you know, XYZ too. And I'm like, man, I feel so left out because I don't know all these kid movies and all the lines that they're quoting. So I mean, that's why I asked, because I was like, surely like the kids watch something and they've watched it. Like my cousin has a 3 or 4-year-old. She's like, I know every line from this exact movie. Like I could rehearse the entire script front to back. We watch it 5 times a day. And I'm like, well, it makes sense.
Like I said, I have a tendency to say, oh, it's not there anymore. Or let's move on. It's annoying, mommy.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so this one is not an original game. I actually stole this from TikTok because I'm trying to become TikTok famous. So y'all go on TikTok. But there's this really cool game where you ask a couple some questions and they have to like point to whose who's the answer for that question. So you guys can't cheat, but you guys can watch this episode after you're done and see who really picked on who. So
he's gonna get in trouble.
Okay.
We talked about this.
We pre-talked. So
all right. Hunter, don't misbehave, okay?
I can't. I might just. I was listening to a podcast this week, and he's basically saying, when you're asked questions, sometimes the best answer is, I don't answer questions like that. So.
All right. Well, try to do your best for this round, okay? There's only 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah. Okay.
So, all right, y'all close your eyes.
Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Who is the better singer?
You're supposed to point. Point.
Yep. Okay. Okay. All right. Who is the troublemaker? Okay. Who is the better cook? Okay. Who farts the most? Hunter Konzen, you have to answer.
This is one that I don't answer.
Okay. Who burps the loudest? All right. Who is the favorite parent? All right, and this one's the last one. Who stole the cookies from the cookie jar? Awesome. All right, good. Okay, you guys can open your eyes now.
Yeah, we do.
No?
Am I still going to have a wife when we watch this together?
Maybe not. I think Jessica will forgive you for most of them. So that was so much fun. I love that. Okay, cool. Well, let's jump into this. So in preparation, first of all, you guys, thank you for just being so graceful with me and for taking so long to getting all this prep to you guys. And really, my preparation stems from a lot of areas. Normally I do a lot of research, I get into the word, and not that wasn't relevant for this topic, but really I wanted to know from today's parents, like what questions do you have about kingdom parenting, and again, for someone like myself who isn't a parent, I thought it was so critical. So last night, my research came from probably 7 different types of parents, if that makes sense, or 7 different families, but all different parenting stages. So parents that are empty nesters, parents who currently have kids at home, and people that are about to be parents. And so I thought it was interesting because the frame of mind of questioning all was so different, Some parents are just trying to figure out how to make it through each day. Mm-hmm. Some are thinking about, some of the real simple stuff in parenting. And then some parents are like, man, I wish I would have done this differently. And so I loved kind of putting all this prep together for a lot of different reasons. And I think really kind of where I want to kick this kind of conversation off is, so one of the questions we had was, how do you let your kids be themselves, but also remind them that they're set apart? We live in a world where our kids are really influenced by a lot of different factors, whether it be at school, through TV, through music, through games, etc. And so how do you still let them embrace those maybe passions or hobbies or interests with also reminding them that they're set apart for the kingdom of God?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can speak to that. I do a lot of affirmations for the kids. So just speaking to, any kind of thing that they're into. So whether it's video games or cheerleading or sports or whatever it might be in the world, I speak over them the affirmations that I feel like God has given me. So for each child, I feel like that I have a good understanding of what they struggle with. And so what I end up doing is speaking to the positive with that. And so instead of really being concerned about making sure that they know who they are with alongside of what they're doing, I'm just basically trying to speak to their identity, and then the other stuff will kind of come. So I want them to have the freedom to be involved and love whatever they might be and do. But I just constantly remind them of who Christ says that they are, that they are adopted sons and daughters of Christ. I know that even whenever they have gotten in trouble for things, and with my 11-year-old, it's a lot easier to do this now, because now he's making, decisions. He'll make choices that definitely can affect him more than, say, my 5 or 6-year-old. But I will straight up, I might be talking to him, disciplining him, and then I say, that's not who you are. Like, who you are. That's not who God's called you to be. He's not called you to be that person. You are not a bad kid. I mean, and that's another thing. We do not say you're good or bad. Like, that is not. So affirmations and labels.
Yeah.
I think
we do. I think we do a pretty good job of allowing them to communicate to us. We've watched a lot of, like, Danny Silk's, his curriculum, and he has this analogy where he talks about a yellow truck. He says, you don't yellow truck your kids. And that's really kind of stuck with me. It's a picture of, like, a big, huge yellow dump truck, and there's a little red truck that's getting run over by the yellow dump truck. And a lot of times as parents, we yellow truck the kids, when they start to talk back, or, they get frustrated or yell. A lot of times I feel like we do a pretty good job of allowing them to communicate to us, even if they're upset, because a lot of, they don't know how to be angry in any other way than just, like, cry or scream. And so allowing them to talk to us and have us communicate back to them, we do a lot of getting down on their level. So just taking a knee and getting in their face and talking to them, especially when they get, like, frustrated or upset, so they're already upset, and then you're screaming at them too. That doesn't really help the situation. So just allowing them to communicate to us and trying not to yellow truck them, and allowing them to make decisions too. Because I think a lot of parents are afraid to let their kids make decisions. And then, even if it's simple stuff. And then not being religious about it. So, for example, using Lily and myself, like, we had a girls' night last night. We danced around, like, and I could see some people and how I relate to her. I want her to feel the freedom of being loved and being a daughter without feeling constrained. I want them to make choices out of love, not because they have this list of rules. Mm-hmm. So, when it comes to decisions, when it comes to things in life, and I feel like that's probably because it's different when your kids are different ages, but, like, with Jack, like, he knows better. Like, he automatically knows that if he's going out to do something, or something pops up on his phone, or something, like, he already has that conviction inside of him. And we teach him that, because there's no junior Holy Spirit. So he has the same conviction inside of him that we have inside of us, so just allowing him to have that freedom.
Yeah, I think that's good. They always say that, children's mind are so moldable at such a young age. And oftentimes I think, some of the things we deal with as adults, they start at a young age of childhood based off association. So it's just like, hey, when I did this, this is how my parents reacted. So it's bad. So therefore I never should do this again. Or it's the wrong thing to do. And really, it couldn't have been that. It could have been your mom or dad had a bad day and they overreacted, or maybe it wasn't really that bad and it was just a lesson to learn. But because it was this big explosive argument and whatever, I got grounded and all this stuff. I think so often we operate, as children out of fear to tell our parents to have open communication to stuff, because that association is a hard discipline. It's fearful. It's, angry. It's hateful. And And that's really kind of, I can at least speak to myself. My parents never spanked me or beat me. My mom slapped me on my butt a few times with a belt, but I'm lucky to not have been scarred by some of those like child memories that a lot of people deal with.
Right.
Doesn't mean that, verbal arguments that I was formed that things were wrong. And really, as an adult, many years down the road, it's really hard to retrain your brain and how you process
Completely.
right, wrong, and what's right and wrong in this world, and what our Heavenly Father, associates as right and wrong. So I commend you guys as parents for molding them that way now, so they can be not just great for the kingdom, but great humans to society, etc., and hopefully great parents themselves one day. So that's huge for sure.
Well, and a lot of people do not know this, or if they're not super close to us, but we're blended. So I was a single parent for 3 years before Hunter and I got married. And, when I separated from Jack's biological dad, I had gone from, basically that was my point in my turning back to the Lord. And I changed a lot of things about my life. And so I decided that I wasn't going to date. I wasn't going to get remarried again, and I wasn't going to date. I had no idea Hunter was going to come into my life. And so I didn't date. I didn't date anybody. But I was incredibly strict, very iron-fisted with Jack, because I had this fear inside of me that I was going to be, older, and I was going to have this 14-year-old 6-foot kid, and I was going to, love him, like Jesus said, with the rod, so that he wouldn't be, abusing me later on. And so it's been, we speak this, and we're able to truly deal with our kids in this way, because we've had to do a lot of forgiveness and a lot of changing and a lot of character refining between the two of us on what is correct ways. And I don't even want to say correct parenting, but it's just correct loving. It's how the Father loves us. Mm-hmm. It's parenting through a connection. We're still pretty strict. So it's not like we're fluffed, we still have very high expectations and standards, but we try very hard to have a connection and a relationship. And with Jack, I've had to do a lot of forgiveness with him, like asking him for forgiveness for those first several years, and a lot of rewiring for him. And I remember one time, this is several years ago, me just sobbing and asking him to forgive me for the way, that I had begun to wire. And so we've really had to be very intentional about when he makes a mistake and loving him through it, because we both agree it's very easy to feel like an orphan, even when you have parents. And so we don't want our kids to feel that way. And what Hunter was talking about is Danny Silk. He has this curriculum called Loving Your Kids on Purpose. Mm. And it's fantastic, because it is all about being intentional with that relationship, being intentional with discussing things with them and reasoning versus like immediate, like it's my way or the highway type of parenting.
Yeah. That's good. I kind of want to jump around in some of these questions, and you brought up the blended family. And, I told Jessica, as far as I'm concerned, until I got to know you guys, I didn't know you guys were a blended family, because y'all love as if you guys all are from the same blood. Right. And I love that, because I think, to your point, blended families at times could kind of have this stack ranking of, well, you're from the old family and you came into my family, so now, you don't get the same treatment. Or I have seen parents, treat their either stepchild or even their children different from stepchildren, whether it's favorable or not. But I think the way this world does blended families, one, there's no perfect algorithm. Every family has their own junk to deal with, and, that blend. But I also think, more importantly, as parents, I'd love to get y'all's advice on what you guys did to, I can't imagine it was the smoothest transition, but what you guys have done intentionally to blend that and make Jack feel that this is his mom and dad. And that doesn't take anything away from Jack's biological father. That's not my intention there, but that he basically has two dads and he doesn't have a dad and a stepdad,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think it goes back to whenever we first began dating. I going back to my testimony, I left Jack's dad because I rededicated my life and I wasn't going to be in a relationship that wasn't pure and holy. And so I then didn't date for 3 years. And I was the outreach director at an extension campus and he was the youth pastor. So Jack was already around him, like he knew who Hunter was. And so when we got married, we just kind of eased. And Hunter is like I'm the nurturer. For me to have a tea party with Lily is like a big deal because I'll cook the food, I'll hold you, I'll read you a book, but I'm not. To sit down and play is different. Hunter is, I'll wrestle, I'll play. I mean, all the time. And so to bring that in he kind of eased himself in that way. I think God also had already ordained Hunter's heart because before we dated, he had actually dated another girl at our church who had 2 kids. And I feel like it was for me, it never made, in fact, I love telling people that because to me, it was like God was positioning him to find us, that he was turning his heart, like he had already prepared his heart for Jack and I. Mm-hmm. And then when we got married, he said vows to me, and then he put Jack on his knee and he said vows to Jack. And so I'll let you speak to a little bit of
Good. I mean, intentionally, I knew that I really loved Jessica and I couldn't love Jessica without truly loving Jack. I mean, that would be pretty selfish. So it wasn't about just Jessica and I. It was, I really loved Jack too. So I couldn't, I don't know if I did anything special. Honestly, it's hard to answer that question because it's, I think, well, yeah, duh. He's, he's a kid. You can't just I can't just kick him off to the curb. And he's always been like a really communicative, really fun kid to be around just because of his personality. He's got good energy. And so he wasn't, I think I see a lot of myself in him. So it's not, I can't say, I feel like this disclaimer here needs to be put at maybe the beginning of the video. We don't know everything. This is obvious. This is definitely a learn, not necessarily a learn as you go, but there's definitely things that you encounter that, are different. And so you just have to, I think, that we do have personal relationships with Jesus. We read our Bible, we do that kind of stuff. It's not, and so I feel like, as weird as it sounds, there's a lot of Holy Spirit stuff that goes on, for real.
Well, and that was the thing, because we still have an active relationship with his biological father. And I always would say if Hunter could win a gold medal for being the other parent, he needs to teach classes on it. Through over the years, he has allowed his dad's name is Johnny. He has allowed Johnny and I to parent with being a third voice without allowing jealousy or allowing anything else to come in the way other than offering sound advice. I mean, I remember a few years back, Jack's biological family is from Mexico. And I was always like, he can never go, no way, you're going to steal him. And so, and Johnny was like, I've got some great aunts I really want him to meet. And so I didn't sleep for 3 days. And it was Hunter who was like, you have got to let him go. It's so important for his identity. It's so important. God's going to take care of him. And so I relented and let him go. And it was one of the best experiences. It really bridged a gap between me and his extended family, that even connected when I went to a mission trip in Mexico a few years back. But, he's got this, he's funny, he's very aggressive, much aggressive than people know, but he's also, got this quiet, he's got this wisdom that comes definitely from the Holy Spirit. And it's like, he can see the whole, he was unselfish enough to allow, these things to happen. And then of course he's very secure in himself. And, I'm very open with everything. So every situation. Jack's dad is not a Christian. So for Hunter to step in, Hunter became Jack's spiritual covering. And so he knew he was stepping into that role, which is also part of it too. We've made a declaration that there's no steps, there's no halves in our family. We are a whole family. And we have fought family of ours away from that declaration. We have fought other people, to be so firm and know this is our dynamic and regardless. And it's not been easy. I mean, it's been lots of prayer, lots of work, lots of communication with Hunter and with, his biological dad and figuring things out. And so,
this happened back after we had first we'd probably been married for, I don't know, a couple years or something. But it was Jack was in daycare and he had this little friend named Jonah, I think it was. Uh-huh. And he came home one day and he goes, Dad, my friend Jonah, he only has one dad. And it was so sad. And it's so sad. And I thought that was great. I was like, well, maybe we're doing a good job
okay. Then. Yeah.
Because he was like, he didn't know the difference. And so I thought that was I always thought that was pretty funny and cute that he said that.
So awesome. I'm so glad you shared that. Yeah. It shows like that child innocence in him, which is so cool to like recognize you as just a father and not anything more or less of that. But you guys were talking and Jessica, I don't know how you guys met, by the way. So that was pretty cool to like hear that. But I think at this point, I really feel that God had, you said earlier, Hunter, that I don't feel like I did anything specific to just like, I love Jessica, I obviously had to love Jack, but I really think whether it was your previous, person you dated, or maybe it was that you were in children's ministry, or being a youth pastor, it's like, God conditioned your heart to love something that wasn't yours, right? And he basically like prepared this place for you, but you had to do those things in order to get there. And I just really think that sometimes we miss some of the things that, sometimes when you're blessed with something, you're just like, man, God's so good. He's blessed me. And you forget all the things that he took you through the past year and a half or two to actually, what I mean? Kind of like out of sight, out of mind, like, oh, I went through, a failed, whatever, potentially relationship. I went through, going through all this, I can't imagine as a youth pastor, how rewarding it is, but how hard it is, being a youth pastor is like pouring your heart out to kids and hearing what they go through in their struggles. Like I've been a youth leader before. Some of the hardest, the conversations I've ever had happened with our youth. And so, you've learned to love these kids as if they were your own. And I don't know if you did anything specific, but you were obedient to the call that God had on your life in order to prepare you to be this husband and father to Jack and Jessica, and then Lily and Judah, right? So,
well, And that's the other thing is, even with his biological dad, Jack has another brother and his name's Max. And we've included him on things. We've had their pictures done together. Like Lily and Judah call Johnny Daddy. That's how they've always known him as, because we try to be as, and another thing that we don't talk negative about his dad, his family, even when we have been in humongous disagreements, because it happens. We try very hard to not say a single thing negative, even around Lily and Judah. Just keep the peace. So.
Yeah. I think this is a good spot to plug this comment. It was one thing I was thinking about, about being a parent is, you don't think about it enough. But a lot, it's like, it's not like, it's not what do I, and this is cheesy, but it's not what my kids can do for me. It's like we have a responsibility to raise these children to be, good people to themselves, but also good to, their surroundings, to their, to society as a whole. And we have, that's a pretty big responsibility, and it's not like easy. It's not supposed to be fun. Yeah. I mean, although there is fun stuff in it, it's like, sometimes you look back and you're like, why did we have kids? It's like it could be a lot easier without them, but we love them, and I think there's something naturally, obviously there's people that don't have kids, but for parents, I think they could say that there's something just natural about having kids, and it's like, yes, this is what we're supposed to do, and then when it happens, it's like there is a responsibility to help raise. You want to have, you don't want to raise, criminals. Well, I hope not. Maybe there's some people that they're intentionally do that. I'm sure that's a small minority, but
there's this meme that Jessica, I'm positive I sent it to you, but if not, I'll go find it. But it's like, basically like how mothers, strong-willed mothers like yourself, like raise kids. And it's like, my daughter is either going to change the world or lead a prison gang, but one of the two, she's going to be doing something. And I love that, because I'm like, we could have taken that route, but we went and this way.
Right.
Jessica could very well be a prison gang.
I could very well.
She could.
I love it. That's so awesome. Dang, there was something I was going to say. There was like this little tidbit, but I forgot. So maybe it'll come back to me. But I love that. I think that's so cool that you guys, choose co-parenting. And I know what I was going to say. I love that you guys don't talk down on Jack's father for a lot of reasons. I was told a lot of things growing up. My parents split when I was really young. I was in the 5th grade when they split. And there's so many things that my mom shielded and protected us from about knowing, what happened between my parents. But at the same time, as we got older, she thought it was okay at that point to start telling us a lot about, things that had happened, things that are happening, and it hardens our hearts for our father, right?
Yeah.
And I remember holding a lot of resentment against my dad. And as I've gotten older, I've had a lot of issues with his absenteeism at different times in my life, and we've talked about it. And he's like, "Well, I wasn't really absent. Your mom just didn't allow me to see you."
Yeah.
Have I been blinded the whole time? And so there's a lot of things that I've had to work through with my parents growing up. And I hope this is okay that I just said all that now that I'm thinking about it, not meaning to blast my parents, but the reality is that it happens, and it happens a lot more than we think. And so, I definitely give you guys kudos for allowing his relationship to be just that, and not your opinions or perceptions of what kind of person or man he is.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that I have prayed over him from day one is a love for the truth. Mm-hmm. And so regardless, I have to send him, and especially before Hunter was in my life, I would have to send him to his dad's house, knowing that his dad's not a Christian, and I have zero control over it. And so I really, in in the Bible, Timothy, his parents were, his dad was Greek and his mother was Jewish, and his mother was a Christian. And so his father was not. And I held on, and it was because of his mother and his grandmother's faith that Timothy became a Christian. And so before I met Hunter, I had that, there was like a devotional I had on my fridge. And I really have prayed that over him. I mean, even when he was dedicated as a child, he was at our last church, the pastor specifically said a spirit of wisdom over this child, and so just not speaking some of the things, and when you're blended and they go in between homes and we're Christian, our values are different than theirs, very much so. It is like black and white, but we can only instill the truth, pray for the truth, and then send them off. I can't control what he sees, what he hears, what he's involved, anything over there, except for what we have discussed previously. So bad-mouthing him, bad-mouthing his family takes away any legitimacy that I have. It takes away from truth of me, because I'm supposed to be outpouring God's love. And how can I show God's love if I'm bad-mouthing his biological father, regardless of whether it's true or not? It's disrespectful. It's not honoring. And so I may say it to Hunter. We may talk about it, but to do it to a child, for sure. But to do it to a child is not showing God's love. And so then I am sinning. And so if he has a spirit of truth on him, he's going to see me, who I'm supposed to be teaching him, as being hypocritical. And then he's going to go towards the other. And so that's another reason why we definitely do not.
There's definitely kids that grow up in like separate households anyways already have there's already stress. I mean, we can't do anything. Even if Johnny was the best Christian, like Joel Osteen, like preacher, and he had to go between both of our houses, like there would still be issues, stress and anxiety just with that. Even if we were the same family, him going back and forth, Jack has definitely had problems with like anxiety and just, I mean, I'm not a psychologist or anything, so I don't really know all the different things, but we've recognized that we have to be, we have to watch out for that with Jack, and adding that extra stuff in there, that extra drama is just going to make it worse for him. And really we have, like I said, going back to the responsibility of raising kids, this is how it is. And we have to figure out the best way for Jack to do this different dynamic that we have going on. So,
you'll have to set some kind of rhythm for him and some kind of normality, if you will. I mean, that's a hard thing to do, but.
Well, guys, that wraps up part 1 of Kingdom Parenting with the Konzens. We thank you guys so much for listening. We love you guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks for part 2. See y'all then.